go. Final few weeks of the season. 4 at-large spots in the BCS are up for grabs. 2 of them you would think you could assign right now. TCU seems to be a lock as the highest-ranked non-automatic qualifier, and the Southeastern Conference certainly appears certain to put in a second team. Then the remaining 2 spots are going to be up for grabs. Boise State's going to be highly ranked. Of course, you've got Penn State and Iowa both above that number 14 in the country slot available for at-large selection. Oklahoma State from the Big 12. Depending on who wins the Pitt-Cincinnati game, you could potentially have 2 Big East teams in the top 14. And lastly, an ACC team could squeak in there. Which way do you go? From here, it's going to be interesting, and the order of selection in the BCS by bowl, I think, will play a big factor into who gets in and who's left out. In the SEC, in the Capital One Bowl picture, a couple of huge weekends ahead. Of course, Florida and Alabama both seem to be cruising their way into the Southeastern Conference Championship and ultimately a BCS berth. That aside, you really focus in on that LSU-Ole Miss game this weekend. Huge game in our picture. LSU with a chance to get to 10 wins on the end of the season if they can beat Ole Miss and Arkansas, and Ole Miss with a chance to finish 9-3. And a win over LSU would make a huge argument and a huge debate for those 2 teams in our picture. The Big Ten picture starting to come into focus for both the Champs Sports Bowl and the Capital One Bowl. Looking ahead to this weekend, big games for Penn State and Iowa as they try to finish the season 10-2. Iowa has Minnesota, and Penn State a tough game against Michigan State. That game, especially when you talk about the Champs Sports Bowl, is big for Michigan State. The chance to get to 7 wins, 7-5, will be very, very important. It appears that after Wisconsin, who also has a chance to be 10-2 and in the picture for the Capital One Bowl, beyond that pick, it appears that 8-4, 7-5 are likely the best records available in the Big Ten when you talk Outback Bowl and Champs Sports Bowl next. We're going to want to keep an eye on those games. Don't forget, Northwestern Wisconsin is going to be a big, big game for both of those teams, especially with Northwestern a chance to get to 8-4 with a win over Wisconsin this weekend and be in a driver's seat possibly for the Champs Sports Bowl. Looking ahead into the ACC for the Champs Sports Bowl, you're going to want to pay attention to that conference record and what that cut line could either be at 6-2 and 5-3 records or 5-3 and 4-4. A big game this weekend, Carolina against Boston College, could weigh heavily in the Champs Sports Bowl decision-making process. Expected, you're going to have a championship game loser potentially from Clemson or Georgia Tech. Then it opens up a variety of teams at 6-2, Virginia Tech being one of those, potentially 5-3 with Boston College, North Carolina, and Miami. It's going to be interesting down the stretch for the Champs Sports Bowl.